with the director rehearsing, and there'll be a little bit of blocking added tonight, whereas in the developmental reading it's just a sit-down cold reading. So if you have a cell phone, you've been texting what a wonderful time you're having and how excited you are to be here, or posting or whatever you do, turn it off. I'm going to turn mine off. I know how. So don't distract the actors or the other audience members, and there'll be a short intermission after the first act. And now, blood of my subjects.
Act 1, Scene 1. It is February 1967, the stage is dark as we hear the voice of Colonel Clifton P. McKeye. He is speaking to members of the 2nd Battalion of the 173rd Airborne Brigade in Saigon.
Gentlemen, as you know, one of the most important objectives of the United States Army, along with the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, is to stop the North Vietnamese Army from reinforcing Viet Cong troops in the south by way of the Ho Chi Minh Trail. As the number of United States troops committed to this war has increased, there has been systematic destruction of the VC forces through the tactic known as search and destroy. The North has tried to shore up guerrilla resistance in the South with their own troops, supplied, of course, with weapons provided them by Communist China. Gentlemen, the command of the 173rd Airborne Brigade, General Greeley, has charged 2nd Battalion with the task of destroying the Ho Chi Minh Trail once and for all. Our mission, Hill 87. This hill is strategically placed for our forces to constantly bombard the enemy as it uses the trail to reinforce the Viet Cong. Once the Ho Chi Minh Trail is destroyed, our forces will then turn to the task laid down by General Westmoreland and his staff, in coordination with the Joint Chiefs, the Defense Department, and the White House, to win this war by attrition. Slowly but surely we will kill massive numbers of the enemy until they disappear completely. The destruction of the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese Army will bring an end to this conflict and allow the Vietnamese people to live in peace and freedom. It will also put an end to the communist world's efforts to take over all of Southeast Asia. There will be no domino effect where the fall of one country to the communists brings about the fall of another and another and another. Gentlemen, this is our moment. I am proud to have been given the command of this operation, proud that the 173rd has been given the task to eliminate the Ho Chi Minh Trail once and for all and achieve complete destruction of the enemy forces. I want to repeat what you have already heard from General Westmoreland and Secretary McNamara. We are winning this war. We have the full support of the Vietnamese people. We are slowly, but with certainty, destroying the power of the enemy to continue fighting, and with continued increase in troops committed to this conflict, we can see an end in sight. My staff and I will continue to brief you on Operation Valkyrie as we get closer to the launching of this effort. Company commanders, please hold yourselves available.
Blackout. End of scene. Scene 2. As the lights rise, it is December of the same year. We see 4 soldiers in green prison fatigues sitting around a table. They are being held in prison in the Presidio Army base of San Francisco. They are James Cross, Charles Kendall, Joaquin Arriaga, and Andrew Cole.
It was cold.
What?
In the morning. Must have dropped 50 degrees that night. I sat there shaking. It was so cold.
Not me. I couldn't move. I couldn't feel anything. I tried to get up. I tried to get up when he said to. I know I did.
Meaning what?
I tried to get up. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't me.
Great. Tell them when they get ready to hang you.
I wasn't the one, okay?
Forget all that, will ya? It's too late for that. We here. They got us. Nothing else matters.
The whole thing fucked up. Our own planes dropping bomb on us? More Charlie than anyone tell us. All day and all night we catching hell. What they expect?
What do you think these officers would do if they were in our place, huh? Same thing.
They don't care. Them boys with them fancy brass, they never been on the line. They never been where we been.
We shouldn't have done it. We should have told that lieutenant we weren't going back.
Hey, don't look at me, man. I wasn't the one, you damn bloods.
Don't give me that shit. We all in the same shape.
I just went along.
Yeah, we all went along, but somebody told the lieutenant we wasn't going back, and then we all said it, and now we all here facing the road.
It don't matter who did what, okay? They just got us and they gotta hang us. We told the Army no. The Army don't like no.
I'm just saying, don't pin it on the blood.
Well, they owe us something here, you know? We all put in our time. You, how deep you in country?
250 days.
See, I was coming up on 300, right at short time. I got me through patrols taking point, firing bases, getting shelled at night and day, and now because of a nigger mouthing off. Pross bolts up and is about to take down Ariaga when Kendall grabs him.
Back off, man, back off.
It don't matter. We got ourselves a new enemy. Ain't Charlie no more. Charlie on the other side of the world. Enemy's right here, in that courtroom. He's wearing the same uniform we are. Forget about what you did in Nambro. We go back up that hill, the Army drag our dead asses back and say, tag 'em and bag 'em. Then they send up more like us. They kill us there, they kill us here. It's all the same.
That's the first right thing I hear you say, man. We dead either way.
Kelly Foster enters, dressed in a business suit. He's carrying a briefcase. He lays it on the table and pulls out papers.
Ariaga, Kendall, Pross, Cole. Where's Dimps?
Who the hell are you, man?
My name's Foster. Kelly Foster. I'm a civilian attorney. I think I'm defending you men from either 30 years of hard labor or the end of a rope.
Army lawyer gone?
So far, 2 Army lawyers have assigned to your case, and so far each one begged off. They realized that defending a bunch of deadbeat soldiers who disobeyed orders and refused to fight during combat wasn't good for career advancement. As a civilian, I haven't got that problem.
Who paying you, huh? We ain't got money.
The Army's paying me. Not enough to buy a new Cadillac, but it'll cover lunch. Now I asked you a question, where's Dimps?
And it's Schell. You don't exactly fraternize.
You 5 are part of this 173rd Airborne Battalion Charlie Company. On February 17th last, your platoon was ordered to Area 9 as part of Operation Valkyrie. You arrived at Hill 87, where Alpha and Bravo companies were taking heavy fire from enemy forces entrenched on the hill. You engaged those forces during the night, and after being relieved the next morning, you were ordered to go back up that hill to continue supporting companies engaged in a firefight. And the 5 of you refused.
There you go.
Yeah, defend us.
This is the Army's side of it. What I'll need from you are the exact details of what happened. I'm talking about what happened the first day of fighting, all through the night, and especially when that officer ordered you men to go back up on that hill. I have to persuade a military court that in the middle of an intense battle, 5 soldiers had a good reason to refuse a direct order to go back into combat.
Can't help you, man.
Look, you have to give me something.
We got to give you nothing, man.
You can't know what it's like. It's chaos, okay? You don't know what's happening in front of you or behind you. All you know is it's raining bullets, and you grab into earth and screaming into dirt, and if it ain't the VC killing us, it's our own planes.
And you do that all day and all night, and then you don't know where you are or what day it is, and if you haven't been blown to pieces, another company comes up to relieve you, and you go back down that hill, and you sit, and you make the stare.
The what?
The stare, man. 1,000-yard stare. Means you've been in country too long, been taking it from Charlie too long. You numb and you sit there, you don't see nothing for 1,000 yards.
All right, look. There are only 2 things I can use to defend you. 1, you went through hours and hours of sheer hell. By the time you were relieved, you were exhausted, unable to go back. 2, that exhaustion was a classic case of battle fatigue. But to make it stick, I've got to show that this Operation Valkyrie of theirs was one giant screw-up by Army command. Even then, the Army still doesn't consider that an excuse for soldiers deciding on their own not to fight. In a few minutes, they're going to take you back to your cells. I'll sit down with each of you individually, and all I want is that you tell me everything you can remember about that night. And I need to know exactly what happened when you all refused to go back up.
What do you mean?
I mean, who said what? Did you all stand up, look at the lieutenant in the eye and tell him no? Were you all so gone that you couldn't even talk? Right at that moment, when you men said, hell no, we won't go, you put your nuts in a vice, and I have to prove that you were right to do it.
Then you're gonna get 5 different stories. Every guy go through his own piece of hell in a firefight.
Well, we can't remember. We had battle fatigue.
If you want to laugh your way in Leavenworth Penitentiary, that's fine. But understand something. When we get into that courtroom, you are already 3 touchdowns behind before the game even starts. The Army does not like it when soldiers disobey orders, especially when the guns are fired. Now, the judge advocate,
What?
the prosecutor, the guy on the other side will have all the facts in his pocket. The presiding judge in this case is an Army officer, and by his very nature, he'll be looking at you 5 as nothing more than deserters under fire. I can't go in there with only a smile.
You're the lawyer. Figure it out.
You will not feel that way when the judge advocate puts you on the stand and starts a fire under your ass.
What do you mean?
I mean, you guys are evidence. You're going to be part of this case. He's going to get you up there and grill you about what happened, and if you don't have your facts straight, he can make you all look like idiots. Now, I've seen this guy in action. He's good. He's very good.
You deal with him.
Not when he's got you up on the stand. And believe me, he will put you on the stand. I would in his position. I'd sit you down in that witness box and hammer the hell out of you until I got you so twisted around you'd be drooling down your chin. So you guys talk to me and give it to me straight. I have to get you ready to answer tough questions so that you don't walk right into a conviction. And remember, you don't play games with this guy. He's smarter than you are. So you guys think, and think hard, and give me some facts. Now I'll start with Dimps.
Good luck, man.
Foster closes his briefcase and exits.
It was so cold.
The stage darkens. And when the lights come back up, Foster is standing before Robert Dimps, sitting alone in his cell.
Corporal Robert Dimps.
Yeah?
My name's Foster. I'm defense counsel for you and the others. I'd like to talk to you.
That'd be the first time.
First time what?
First time any officer wanted to talk to me.
I'm not an officer. I'm a civilian attorney. The Army lawyers didn't want this case. I'll be defending you in court.
Why? What's in it for you?
I have my reason. Meanwhile, I haven't got much time to prepare. The trial begins in 2 weeks. Now, I've gone over all the materials from the pre-trial hearings, but I want to get the full story from all of you.
And you need to talk to the man, mister. He owns the story.
Look, I can understand your bitterness.
You don't understand shit, man. You got that? Not you. Not the brass, the goddamn West Point motherfuckers. Nobody. Hell, we were there, and half the time we didn't know what was happening.
Then tell me what you know, any way you want.
You ever been humping?
What?
Humping, man. Combat. In the bush where they pouring Mr. AK-47 down your ass. Were they shooting at you?
No, I haven't.
Great. The court's got judges what don't know shit. Officers calling us cowards when they be sitting back in Saigon away from the bullets. And now we got us a lawyer who don't know nothing about action except he got his lunch money ripped off in the 3rd grade.
I'll wait.
What?
For you to get past that chip on your shoulder the size of a 61 Chevy. Look, I'm an experienced defense attorney. I've tried a number of court-martial cases. I know how to argue in a military courtroom. And if you'd rather a specialist in artillery or small arms or commando tactics, hey, that's fine. I specialize in defending guys like you who are days away from either a 30-year sentence in Leavenworth or a hangman's noose.
Where you from? I hear something.
The old neighborhood.
Where?
You're Detroit, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
At Grosse Pointe. We used to lock our doors at night praying you guys wouldn't riot in our rich neighborhood and set fire to our expensive cars.
Oh, yeah. Well, ain't that nice? The rich white boy gonna come down from the country club and take care of the poor nigga now that somebody's gonna lynch him.
When I walked in here, we had 14 days to the opening of trial. The clock's ticking, Dimps. You want to tell me what I need to know so I can defend you? Or are you going to sit there bitching about my background?
Fuck you, man. Y'all gonna play your game and suck each other's dicks, and then when they put a rope around my neck, y'all gonna go have drinks and talk about how they throwing dirt over my rotten ass. Take your ass home, man. Mama's got your white bread sandwich waiting.
Whatever you say. You can talk to me now or on the stand. Now, would be better. I'll talk to the others and get their story. Whatever it is, I've got a short time to make it seem like the 5 of you are actually right to disobey orders and refuse to fight. If I can't, then they will shovel dirt over you.
Ever leave Grosse Point and get into the city?
Sometimes.
Do you know that Detroit a union town?
Right.
What the union do when the boss is treating the workers bad?
They go on strike.
There you go. We went on strike.
There's something you need to understand, Dimps. Only citizens of the United States have the right to strike. The moment you entered the United States Army, you gave up all your rights as a citizen, at least as far as the Army is concerned.
I didn't enter the Army, man. Mr. Government entered me. Sent me this piece of paper saying either I went in or they'd arrest me. I never had no rights.
Then this is your chance to take on Mr. Government before he gets his hands on you for the last time. And think about that. And you call me if you want to talk.
Lights fade. End of scene. Scene 3. Lights come up on the General Court-Martial room of the Presidio Army base in San Francisco. Beyond the presiding judge's table are the tables for the judge advocate and the defense. Across these tables, the witness box. Kelly Foster is sitting at the defense table, slowly going through papers. Lieutenant Tom Schell enters.
Aren't you ready by now?
What are you doing here?
Since I'm no longer defense counsel, I thought I'd observe the proceedings.
Is that ethical?
It's legal.
You wouldn't by chance be interested to see if I managed to win this case after you dumped it?
Not me, pal. You can have this one. These guys are guilty as hell. After everyone goes through this dog and pony show, you'll find I was right. Plead guilty. Throw yourself on the mercy of the court.
Maybe that's why they need other counsel. Look, it's bad enough when you're a lightweight going up against a heavyweight with one hand tied behind your back. When your own manager doesn't believe in you, you really got trouble.
Look, Kelly, remember first year law school? The facts win the case. Facts are these guys disobeyed a direct order and refused to fight. You might just defend them straight to the end of the rope. Tell me, did you sign it?
I signed it.
I'll be damned. You must want this case bad.
It's a good case, and I'm a lawyer.
It's a crappy case. I work for this outfit. They give me a direct order of complete silence regarding this court-martial, or else I say, yes, sir, and obey. You sign an agreement. Break it. It's your ass. You can't make this a public case.
I don't care about that.
Then what?
Maybe I think they were right. The idiots running this war are screwing it up left and right. The soldiers pay the price. Maybe it's time someone looked the Army in the face and said no.
You want to lead a charge against the Army, that's fine. Just remember, it's not your skin.
Judge Advocate Norman Skenck enters and takes his place at the prosecutor's table, followed by the orderly.
Your dice.
Robert Dimps, James Cross, Charles Kendall, Andrew Cole, and Joaquin Arriaga enter and take their chairs. Schell sits behind the judge advocate's table. All rise. The presiding judge of the court, Colonel Wingate, enters and takes his seat at the judge's table. Everyone is at attention except Foster.
Be seated. The defendants will rise and face the judge of the court.
Foster motions and Dimps, Cross, Kendall, Cole, and Arriaga rise.
Gentlemen, you are charged with violation of Article 165 of the United States Military Code, desertion in the line of duty. Additionally, you are charged with deliberately disobeying orders and displaying cowardice in the line of fire. You understand these charges?
Yes.
Gentlemen, the court requires you to clearly answer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Charge that on February 18th, 1967, Private Andrew Cole, Private Charles Kendall, Private James Pross, Private Joaquin Arriaga, and Corporal Robert Dimps did willfully, in time of war, and without cause, refuse a direct order from the superior officer to engage the enemy during an ongoing battle in the location known as Hill 87, in the section known as Area 9 in Vietnam. Gentlemen, you have heard the charges proffered against you. How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Sir, the defendants plead not guilty.
The judge advocate will proceed.
I call Captain Alan F. Moore.
The orderly exits and returns with Moore, who stands before the witness box. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Captain Moore, what is your position in the United States Army?
I am a clinical psychologist.
For how long?
10 years.
Do you have a specialty?
Yes, I do. I treat soldiers who have experienced battle fatigue.
And this is an actual psychological condition, battle fatigue.
Oh, yes.
Captain, where did you obtain your degree?
Johns Hopkins University.
And have you examined the defendants?
I have.
And is it your opinion that they are currently, at this moment, suffering from the psychological condition called battle fatigue?
No. It is my opinion that they are not.
Is it your opinion that 10 months ago, on February 18th of this year, were they suffering from the psychological condition called battle fatigue?
No, it is not.
Your witness.
Captain, the term battle fatigue has gone through many different names, hasn't it?
Yes. In World Wars I and II, they used to just call it shell shock, or some psychiatrists back then referred to it as war neurosis.
And when did you in fact examine the defendants?
4 weeks ago.
You are aware, of course, that the incident in question occurred 10 months ago, February 18th to be exact.
I am.
And you contend that examining soldiers almost 10 months after they have gone through a particularly harsh action is sufficient for you to determine whether or not they underwent battle fatigue or shell shock, whatever you want to call it.
Objection. Counsel is being vague. Is he asking the witness if he was able to determine if defendants are now suffering from battle fatigue, or if they underwent such a condition at the time of the incident?
Sir, the judge advocate has anticipated my line of questioning.
Proceed.
Captain, how long have you been back in San Francisco?
I don't understand. I haven't left San Francisco.
Well, then I take it you have not been to Vietnam.
No.
Captain, are you a veteran of the Korean conflict?
No, I am not.
What does this have to do with the witness's examination of the defendants?
Sir, the judge advocate has already established the witness's academic background. Certainly, I'm allowed to inquire as to his background and the very thing that brings about the condition he has said he's been treating for the last 10 years.
I will allow the question.
Captain, you've never been in combat, is that correct?
It is.
Then how can you possibly understand what these men have been through?
That's a question only an amateur would ask.
Captain, you will refrain from such comments and confine yourself to answering questions.
Yes, sir. It isn't necessary for a psychologist to go through terrible depression to both understand it and treat it. I read a great deal about the various combat situations our soldiers are going through.
But you understand what these men have been through from books?
Well, yes.
Captain, you have stated that when you examined these 5 men 4 weeks ago, you were positive that they were not suffering from battle fatigue.
Correct.
Isn't there another psychological term that applies to this situation? A term that is entirely different from battle fatigue. Are you familiar with the term combat stress reaction?
Yes, I am.
Will you explain the difference to the court?
Battle fatigue is a long-term disorder. The patient displays various signs and symptoms. Combat stress reaction is a short-term situation.
Did you say short-term, Captain?
Yes.
What are the signs of combat stress reaction?
Extreme fatigue, indecision, and inability to think and make decisions and disconnection from immediate surroundings.
And you say this is short-term.
That's what I said.
Then, Captain, if indeed these 5 men were suffering from combat stress reaction on the morning of February 18th, and what they were suffering from was short-term, then wouldn't it have been necessary for you or some other clinical psychologist to examine them on that day or immediately thereafter? Answer the question.
Yes.
4 weeks ago, was it possible for you to observe and deduce combat stress reaction in the 5 defendants?
No, it was not.
Thank you.
Any redirect?
Captain, have you at any time since your examination of these 5 men seen or observed anything at all that leads you to the conclusion that on the day of the incident, February 18th, they were in any other psychological condition besides a normal one?
No, nothing at all.
No more questions. I call Lieutenant Martin Kulik to the stand.
Do you do so solemnly swear that the testimony you will give to this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Lieutenant Kulik, Were you the platoon leader of Baker Platoon on February 17th and 18th last?
Yes, sir.
Were the defendants a part of that platoon?
Yes, sir.
Did you lead that platoon up Hill 87 on the 17th?
Yes, sir.
And did that platoon see action?
Yes, sir.
Now, Lieutenant, please explain to the court what happened on the morning of the 18th.
At 0800 hours, Colonel McKeye informed me that the 173rd would resume our attack on the hill. I was to take what was left of my platoon and reconnoiter with Alpha Company. We were then to await further orders.
And did you do that?
No, sir.
Why not?
The men in my platoon refused to go, sir.
What did you say to them?
I said, saddle up, let's go, we have orders.
And what did they say?
They sat there and didn't say anything, and then they started shaking their heads, and someone said, we ain't going nowhere, something like that.
Who said, we ain't going nowhere?
I don't know, sir. Then they all sat there shaking their heads, and then they were all saying it. They just wouldn't go.
And what happened then?
I repeated the orders, and they continued to say that they would not go. I went to get Captain Nichols and brought him back to where we were sitting.
Why did you get him?
I thought they'd listen to a captain, sir.
And did they?
No, sir. At that point, I marched them over to base camp, reported that they refused orders, and we all were taken over to command center where Colonel McKeye came out and spoke to them.
And what did he say?
He said he didn't have time for this nonsense, and he was ordering them to get back and carry out their assignments.
And what did they do?
They just stood there.
Did they say anything?
No.
Did they make any move to go back? Did they do anything?
No, sir. They just stood there in silence. After a minute or two, the colonel simply said that they were under arrest, and they were taken away.
And what happened to you?
I joined up with Alpha, sir, and we resumed our action to take that hill.
Thank you. Your witness.
Lieutenant, what is your background?
You mean in the Army, sir?
Let's start with where you're from.
Colima, Kansas.
Lived there all your life?
Yes, sir. Until I went into the Army.
Your schooling?
Graduated high school in '62, a year of junior college, and then I went to work.
Lieutenant, did you drop out of junior college?
No, sir.
Did you fail out?
Yes.
And what jobs did you do then?
Parking lot attendant at a local hotel, bellhop.
And then what?
I joined the Army.
And you did basic training at Fort Jackson?
Yes, sir.
And after basic, what did you do?
I was trained as a clerk typist.
And did you work as a clerk typist?
Yes, sir.
For how long?
3 months, sir. Then I was accepted for officer candidate school.
And then after that, you were assigned to the 173rd Airborne Battalion on January of this year.
That's correct.
Lieutenant, what action had you seen prior to the attack on Hill 87?
After arriving in Vietnam, I was assigned to the forward fire base.
Which is?
Primary artillery, sir.
Was that base ever under attack?
Sir, what has this to do with the case against the defendants? I do not understand the counsel's line of questioning at all.
Counselor, I must agree with the judge advocate. You have established the witness's background. I suggest you bring your questioning along the lines of this case.
Yes, sir. Lieutenant, was Hill 87 your first action?
Yes.
On February 17th, as you were leading your men to Hill 87, did you find the remnants of an NVA camp just 3 kilometers from the hill?
Yes.
What did you make of that?
Sir?
I must object, sir. This line of questioning is still going nowhere.
Sir, everything that happened just before the action on Hill 87 is pertinent to the incident on the morning of the 18th, which is, after all, why these 5 men are on trial.
I will allow this a little further, but I urge you, Counselor, to produce a clear line of questioning that has a bearing on this case.
Thank you, sir. Lieutenant, when did you receive your orders to bring your platoon to Hill 87?
On February 16th.
Who gave you those orders?
Colonel McKeye, sir. At a briefing for all officers of Alpha, Bravo, Delta, and Charlie companies.
And at that briefing, were you told the objective of this action?
It was necessary to take this hill in order to break the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which was operating nearby. If our forces could command that hill, we could fire down with artillery and use superior position to stop the enemy from bringing in supplies further south.
And at that briefing, were you given intelligence reports regarding predicted enemy strength in Hill 87?
Yes, sir.
What did the intelligence tell you?
We were told that there were no surrounding NVA units, and that there would be minimal VC resistance on that hill.
So when you found the recently deserted NVA camp only a few kilometers from Hill 87, then you knew that the intelligence reports were wrong, didn't you?
I don't know about that, sir.
Well, you knew that the report said that there was no NVA strength in the area. What did you make of this deserted camp?
I didn't make anything of it, sir.
Well, what did you think?
I wasn't there to think, sir, just to obey orders.
Did you radio in a report about it?
Yes, sir. That's standard under those conditions.
Back to base?
Yes.
What did they do with the information?
I don't know, sir.
Again, I object. This is going nowhere and is completely irrelevant to the matter before this court.
Mr. Foster, I suggest that you ask questions of this witness relevant to the charges against the defendants.
All right, sir. Lieutenant, please describe the fighting that took place on February 17th on Hill 87 as it pertained to your platoon.
I was in radio contact with Captain Goleman of Alpha Company, who requested that we advance towards his position about 200 meters forward up the hill. When we arrived, a full-scale firefight was underway. We immediately took position to support Alpha Company in returning enemy fire.
How bad?
Sir,
The enemy fire. How bad?
the enemy was in a superior position of firing from above, with the advantage of well-placed cover.
Had Alpha suffered significant casualties prior to your arrival?
Yes,
And when you began to support Alpha, did your platoon suffer casualties?
we did.
Were you able to dig foxholes?
There wasn't time.
Did this contribute to the number of casualties?
Yes,
Lieutenant, did Alpha Company receive air support during this firefight?
did.
In a combat situation in Vietnam, how does this usually happen?
Sir?
Lieutenant, let's suppose you're under heavy fire. Would you be the one to call back to base for fire support to take out an enemy position?
Well, sir, it's usually done by a FAC.
Which is?
It's a forward air controller, sir. A small single-engine prop plane observing action from about 200 feet. You're in touch with the FAC pilot giving coordinates, and he controls bringing in fighters, Air Force or Marines, depending on where they are.
That was not done until 87.
No, sir. Everything was controlled from base.
And base was how far back?
About 5 clicks, sir.
2.5 miles for us civilians, right?
About that.
And when did the planes arrive?
About 1730 hours.
Lieutenant, from which direction did the planes attack and drop their bombs?
From the south.
Was that standard procedure?
I don't know, sir.
Lieutenant Kulik, did those planes drop their bombs on you and your men instead,
Yes, sir, they did.
causing heavy casualties?
Yes,
Killing many of your men?
yes.
How many?
I'm not sure.
You went up with 18. How many did you bring back?
5.
These 5?
Yes, sir.
That's all.
I call Colonel Clifton P. McKeye to the stand.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Colonel, will you tell the court what happened on the morning of February 18th, last as it pertains to the defendants?
Certainly. I was at my command post at the base camp set up for Operation Valkyrie.
Would you tell us what Operation Valkyrie was?
Valkyrie was designed to once and for all put an end to the Ho Chi Minh Trail. For far too long, no matter how many times we destroyed Viet Cong forces, they were able to continue rebuilding their strength due to the supply lines running down from Laos into Cambodia. Hill 87 was the key. It's what we call in military science decisive terrain. 870 meters high and located on the Cambodian border, it provides an excellent position for U.S. artillery to bombard the trail and disrupt enemy supply lines. The success of Operation Valkyrie was designed around taking that hill.
Colonel, was Hill 87 taken?
Yes,
Was Operation Valkyrie a success?
it was.
During this operation, did any of the troops involved lay down their arms and refuse orders to continue fighting?
Yes,
Are they here in this courtroom?
they are. They are the 5 defendants sitting over there.
How do you know this?
They were brought before me at base camp right after they first refused their orders. I was in the middle of coordinating our attack when I was interrupted and informed of a situation where soldiers were refusing to fight. I stepped outside of my command post where I encountered a lieutenant and 5 enlisted men.
And what did you do?
I didn't have any time to coddle a bunch of cowards.
Objection.
Sustained. Colonel, you will answer the questions without further descriptions of the defendants.
Yes, sir. Well, I had a war to fight. I told these 5 men point blank that they were either went back and obeyed the orders or they were under arrest.
And how did they respond?
They didn't. They just stood there.
They said nothing? You're sure?
I am.
And you placed them under arrest?
I certainly did.
Colonel, when you spoke to the defendants, did they appear to you to be in a state of exhaustion?
No.
Were they behaving oddly?
No.
Did they have trouble understanding you?
My men never have trouble understanding me.
Did they seem rational to you, or were they in such a state where it was obvious that they did not know what they were doing?
They knew exactly what they were doing.
Thank you. Your witness.
Colonel, you're from West Point, aren't you?
I am. Class of 47.
Just missed World War II.
Yes.
But you'd seen combat prior to Vietnam.
I was in Korea.
What was your rank there?
Started out as a lieutenant, made captain.
Did you ever command men in combat?
Of course.
While in Korea, Colonel, did you ever hear of a place called Kinchong?
Yes.
Were you not in charge of a company at Kinchong that was ordered to attack and clear out an enemy position of Red Chinese troops that have been pushing U.S. positions south of Port towards Seoul?
Now, that was a long time
Were you,
ago.
yes or no?
Again, I must protest to the court that counsel is going off on tangents that have absolutely nothing to do with the events prompting the charges before this court.
So the judge advocate called Colonel McKeye to the stand to present evidence showing that he was the officer who was in command of Operation Valkyrie. The colonel's background, especially military, is nothing if not pertinent.
You may continue.
Colonel, what happened at Kinchong?
I don't understand.
Was it a success?
No.
Were you not reprimanded for your failure to take prompt action when it was determined that the enemy had divided their forces and an attack by your company could have broken their lines?
No,
Yes
that...
or no?
Yes,
Were you not in fact broken back to lieutenant after this action?
I was.
How long were you in Korea?
1 year.
Then what?
I returned to Fort Orden, California, where I was assigned in the instruction of tactics to those attending officer training school.
For how long?
4 years. After that, I was chosen to attend the U.S. Army War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. There I obtained the master's degree in strategic studies and was given the rank of colonel.
And you were assigned to the Pentagon?
I was, as an aide to General Arthur M. Ketchel.
And then to Vietnam?
Correct. I was assigned to the 25th Infantry Division in January of 1966.
And what were your duties there?
I was given command of B Company in a forward fire base just north of Phu Bai.
And was this fire base attacked on June 15th, 1966?
It was.
Isn't it true that this forward fire base was completely overrun on that date and it was necessary to call in Air Force planes to take out the opposing forces and save that base from complete destruction?
Yes.
Were you not advised by the previous commander of that base to set up an inner defensive perimeter, what's called an IDP, in case of attack by superior forces?
Yes.
Did you do that?
No. There was no evidence of
Colonel, do
any...
you know what a free fire zone is?
I do.
What is it?
Well, this has nothing to do
What
with...
is it?
It's when all lines are broken down and the enemy has overrun your position.
Did your base at Phu Bai turn into a free fire zone?
Well, if you say so.
The witness must answer the question.
Yes.
Colonel, when you were given command of Operation Valkyrie, is it safe to say that you were, for all practical purposes, 0 for 2?
Objection!
Sustained. Counselor, there will be no more of that.
Colonel, what qualifications did you have to command Operation Valkyrie?
Objection! This court exists to try the defendants on the charges as read. We are not here to decide the witness's qualifications for command. If senior officers concluded that Colonel McKeye was qualified to command this operation, then that alone determines the matter. Counsel's entire line of questioning to this witness has absolutely nothing to do with the actions of the defendants on February 18th.
The court agrees. Mr. Foster, you will confine your questioning of this witness to areas pertinent to the charges.
All right. Colonel McKeye, were you aware that Baker Squad under Lieutenant Kulik discovered an abandoned NVA camp a few kilometers?
Objection.
Sustained.
Sir, the defense maintains the defendant's actions on February 18th were not a result of cowardice, that they were unplanned and a result of the tremendous strain of battle. The decisions made by command prior to and during the fight for Hill 87 directly affected this situation. It is imperative to my case that I be allowed to pursue just such a line of questioning.
Sir, if the events of Hill 87 were in some way unusual or irregular to any of the actions transpiring in this war, Counselor's argument may indeed be valid. But that is just the prosecution's point. Not one occurrence in the fight to take this hill was any different from what has happened time and time again throughout this war, and therefore could not have had any special effect on the defendants nor their actions. I submit that there is no reason whatsoever for this line of questioning, and I maintain that the only testimony from this witness that can possibly pertain to the charges in this case should be what he knew of the defendants and of their actions, and only that.
Mr. Foster, the court agrees with the judge advocate. I see no relevance in your questions. You will confine your questioning of this witness to the actions of the defendants as he understood them at the time.
In that case, sir, I have no more questions. However, as the court has restricted my questioning of this witness in the case of the prosecution, I reserve the right to question this witness further when it's time for the case for the defense.
Colonel McKee, you will hold yourself available for further testimony.
Sir, I call Corporal Robert Dimps to the stand.
You do so solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name.
Robert Dimps.
Corporal, do you recall the morning of February 18th last?
Yes.
Will you tell us what happened?
Me and them, we was all sitting around a few hundred yards south of that hill.
Hill 87?
Yeah. And the guys just started talking, saying that's how this is all crazy. We ain't gonna take that hill. Charlie up there, and he dug in. We go back and he gonna chop us to pieces. And then someone say, the hell with it. We don't want no more of this stinking war. We ain't going.
Who said that?
I don't know. We was still reeling from fighting all day and night. I just remember being real tired and like, but then one of the guys started saying, yeah, I've had it, or I've had enough, no more. I ain't going nowhere, man. And all the guys saying it.
When did you say all the guys? Do you mean all four of the defendants sitting there?
Yeah, they was all saying it. And right then the lieutenant come up and he gave us orders that we got to saddle up because there's going to be another attack. And right then the guys all started telling that we wasn't going nowhere.
And what did you do?
I didn't know what to do. I was real surprised. And then some other officer came over and talked to us, and the guys told him the same thing, that they wasn't going. They marched us all over to the base, and then some other officer told us we was under arrest.
Would that be Colonel McKeye?
I think so.
Corporal, are you sure, Corporal, you were sure that just prior to Lieutenant Kulik's giving you orders to return to action, that the four defendants clearly spoke of refusing any further orders to go back to Hill 87?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Corporal, did you at any time specifically say that you were not going back to Hill 87?
No, sir.
Did you intend to follow Lieutenant Kulik's orders?
It was like this, sir. I didn't know what to do. All of a sudden, the guys were saying that they weren't going to go, and then, well, I just got caught up in it. You see, they threatened me.
When did they do that?
After the colonel told us we was under arrest, I got scared. I wanted to tell someone that I didn't want no part of this, but I couldn't.
And why not?
The guys. They told me to shut up or they'd kill me.
Liar! You're a fucking lousy liar!
Order! The defendant will cease behavior immediately. Is that understood, Counselor? The court will not tolerate this again.
Yes, sir, I apologize for the defendant's outburst. I assure the court it will not happen again.
Did any particular one of the defendants tell you that they would kill you if you spoke up?
No, well, they all said it.
I see. Your witness.
Sir, the defense was not prepared for one of the defendants to be called as a witness for the judge advocate's case. I request that I be allowed to prepare my own examination of this witness at a later time.
So ordered. Captain Skenck, are you ready to call further witnesses?
I am, sir. I call Captain Chester Devlin of the 173rd Battalion to the stand.
Foster and the 4 defendants continue glaring at Dimps, who looks straight ahead as the stage darkens. End of scene. Scene 4, the jail. Cole, Ariaga, Kendall, and Pross are seated at a table, stage center, standing in front of them is Foster, speaking as the lights go up.
Understand something. The judge advocate put on one hell of a case out there today. Piece by piece, he put before the presiding officer of the court every good reason why you guys are guilty. All I had was that you'd all been through holy hell before you could told Kulik you weren't going back. I was making some headway until Dimps got up there and flat out handed you to the prosecution. But look, I have to know, straight truth. I cannot go back into that courtroom tomorrow not knowing where my ass is. So tell me, did you guys say to each other that you weren't going to go back to that hill before Kulik came to you with orders?
No.
No way. That didn't happen.
Dimps lied. Look, we was all sitting there burnt out, okay? We wasn't doing no talking. We was gone. The lieutenant came up to us and started saying that we got to go back up. But before he came, we was too tired to say anything at all.
Well, thanks to Dimps, the prosecutor has established that when Kulik told you you had to go back, one of you said, I ain't going nowhere. Who was it, you?
Not me.
Cole? Cross? Argala?
It was Dimps.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
So why in hell didn't you guys tell me that when I first talked to you?
The unwritten rule. You don't rat on one of yours. So much for that.
All right, listen to me. Tomorrow, I'm putting you guys on the stand under oath, and you cannot fuck with me, and you sure as hell can't fuck with that court. If you so much as look as if you don't have your story straight, the judge advocate will pull your balls out through your throat in a matter of seconds, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Why would he do it, sir?
Dimps? I don't know.
He's trying to put it on all of us and get off himself.
It doesn't work that way. You're all charged with refusing a direct order to go into combat. Either you're all innocent or you're all guilty.
Sir, what are we going to do?
I don't know.
The stage darkens as the lights go up on Dimps' cell. Foster appears and enters the cell.
Why?
Don't mess with me, white boy.
If you think you can push it all on them and get off, you're wrong. I'm trying to convince the United States Army that you 5 were under so much strain that you couldn't take another step. If that judge decides you guys chickened out and wouldn't go back to the bullets, then all of you go down. He won't care that you were some innocent who was too afraid to buck his buddies.
That's your problem.
Yeah, it is. I have to go into that courtroom with 2 different stories and 2 different sets of defendants. You know I have to torpedo you.
You outclassed. Nice boy from Grosse Pointe messing with the brother from the streets. This ain't cramming for your finals, man. You dealing with somebody who take out a sniper at 400 yards.
The courtroom's my territory, Dimps, and I won't be shooting at you from cover in a tree. I'll be right in your face, and I know how it's done.
You still ain't said why you doing this. What you care if 5 dog-faced grunts get up?
Ever hear of the Idrang Valley?
Yeah, in 65, MVA kicked hell out of us around Playfield.
Well, if you look at the casualty report, you'll see the name Peter Foster, my sister's boy, 19. Surprise attack by the enemy wiped out 7th Cavalry 2nd Battalion at LZ Hotel. We had to put him in a closed coffin because there wasn't much left of him. His mother doesn't do or say much anymore. We're in the same boat, Dimps.
Man, we ain't even in the same ocean. You kidding me? I'm a black man living in Detroit. All I got is hustle in the streets till sooner or later the man pick me up and put me in jail. So the army drafts my ass, tells me I got no choice, sends me to knock, I end up in jail. Nigga can't win. Don't tell me about your little white boy who could have gone to college, stay out the shit, get himself a white man's job. I don't want to hear it.
You ever been humping? Well, tomorrow you're humping in my combat zone.
As the lights go down on Dimps' cell, the light goes up on a jailer sitting at a table writing. He hands Foster a ledger.
Sign here, sir. Your exit time is 1925 hours.
Is this book correct?
Yes, sir.
How do you know?
Well, I'm in charge of monitoring who goes in and out of the jail.
But you're on here 24 hours a day.
I know, sir. But the first thing I do when I start my shift is to confirm the jail log with the sergeant at arms. I'm relieving. He does the same with me when it's his turn.
So I want this in court tomorrow at 200 hours. Who do I see?
No, sir. I guess the adjunct, Lieutenant Billings.
Well, where do I find him?
Well, I guess he's in the officer's mess, sir. It's dinner time.
Thank you. Guard that well, son.
Yes, sir.
Blackout. End of scene. Alright.
Take a license flash.
Hey. Act 2, Scene 1. The courtroom. Foster sits at the defense table alone. Lieutenant Schell enters.
It won't help.
Whoa,
Whatever brilliant last-minute strategy you're trying to come up with. This isn't Perry Mason. No one's going to jump up and say, I did it! At the last minute. You're sunk. Why don't you change to a guilty plea? Hell, you know damn well they aren't going to hang these guys. That's fodder for the New York Times. It'll give those Berkeley protesters another reason to march in front of the White House yelling, Free the Hill 87-5.
I'm not all that concerned with the White House at the moment.
Look, you pushed combat stress, which is all you had. You made the best of it you could. Throw them before the court. Beg for mercy. Remind all the brass that these guys have been shot at and bombed like hell, and maybe they get 20 instead of 30.
I'm supposed to defend them, Tom, not give them up.
10 years is 10 years, Kelly.
You would be working for the judge advocate now, would you?
He thinks I feed on plankton. No. Right now, Skenck is sitting in his office with a big shit-ass-eating grin on his face. He's won.
Well then, I might as well get in my last licks.
The courtroom door opens and Wingate enters, followed by Skenck. They take their seats, and the orderly brings in the defendants. Dimps is a few steps behind the others. They sit. Dimps sits slightly apart from the others.
Mr. Foster?
Thank you. Sir, I ask that the 4 defendants who have not yet been on the stand be sworn in together.
Proceed.
You do so solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Gentlemen, yesterday you heard Corporal Dimps testify that on the morning of February 18th, before you received orders to return to Hill 87, the 4 of you discussed the fact that you would refuse to return to the action you encountered the previous day. Is that true?
No.
Thank you. Private Argyle, please take the stand. Please state your full name.
Joaquin Garcia Ariaba.
Now, Private, when your squad arrived at the firing line on Hill 87 the first day, February 17th, what happened?
Objection. What does this have to do with the action of the defendants as charged?
The judge advocate takes the position that the only evidence relevant to this course should be limited to the actions of the defendants when they were given orders to go back to Hill 87 on the 18th. I put it to you, a senior officer, that everything that happened to these soldiers throughout the entire operation is relevant, and I ask the court to so rule.
Objection overruled. You may continue.
Go ahead, Private.
When we got there, all hell broke out. The fire was coming from above, but we couldn't see where. They had cover, we didn't.
So you hit the ground hard.
Yes, sir. Everybody did. All of a sudden, a sergeant from Alpha Company yelled for me and another Alpha guy to follow him.
Follow him where?
Around the side, to the east. This other guy and me, we went around to try and come up at the enemy that was dug in at the top of the hill shooting down at Alpha.
And what happened?
We never made it. When we swung around, we started moving up the hill when the sergeant screamed, "Here they come!" and We looked down and there was all these NVA troops coming up the hill right at us.
They were coming at you from below,
Yes, sir.
from only one direction?
No, sir, from all over the place.
How many were there?
I don't know exactly a lot.
So you got there, and all these troops are coming at you.
Me and the other guy, we spun around and just started firing. We were just firing left and right. There were so many of them. I remember the sergeant was firing down at like 20 goops just running toward him, and they just cut him down. He went down hard. We turned our rifles on them, tossed a couple of grenades, and shredded them.
Did you stay there?
No, sir. Me and this other guy, we started back towards the, where Alpha was dug in.
Why?
There were too many of them, sir. And there was a whole lot of NVA coming at us, so we couldn't hold.
So you went back.
We started to. Just as we did, the other guy with me got it. In the chest, this big hole. Blood pouring out. He was dead. I looked down at all those other guys coming at me and I just started to run. I made it back to Alpha, but it wasn't no better. They were still catching hell.
And then the planes came.
Yes, sir. Our planes. They came in from the south and began to strafe, but instead of getting Charlie, they mostly got us. We lost a lot of guys.
The battle continued through the night. How many of your original platoons left come morning?
Just us 5.
And you made your way down the hill. You 5. On the way down from Hill 87, did you 5 talk?
No, sir.
Not a word?
No. We were exhausted.
So you didn't discuss what you were going to do next?
Objection. Council has already rather dramatically asked that question, and it has just as dramatically been answered.
Sustained.
At 8:30 hours, Lieutenant Kulik came up to the 5 of you.
Yes.
Were you asleep?
No, sir. We were just sitting there, quietly.
And he relayed orders that you were to go back up to Hill 87?
Yes, sir.
And what did you say to the lieutenant when he gave those orders?
Me, I didn't say anything.
Did any of the 5 of you say anything?
Yes, sir. He did.
Private, are you pointing at Corporal Dimps?
Yes, sir, I am.
What did he say?
He just looked up at the lieutenant and said, "No way, man, we ain't going."
What did you think when you heard him say that?
I just remember thinking how tired I was, that I just couldn't move. I felt like I couldn't have moved an inch if a tank was coming right at me.
Then what happened?
The lieutenant, he just seemed kind of stunned. I remember he repeated the order and we just sat there.
You knew you were getting a direct order, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Did the others?
Yeah, I think so.
But you chose not to obey it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Private.
Private, allow me to confirm what you just told the court.
Okay.
You have just testified that Lieutenant Kulik gave you an order on the morning of the 18th to return to Hill 87.
Yes, sir.
And you just testified that you understood that order.
Yes, sir.
Private, did you obey that order?
No, sir.
Did you understand at that very moment that you were disobeying a direct order from your superior?
Well, sir.
Yes or no, Private?
Yes.
Thank you.
Kelly. What the hell are you doing? You just had him admit to the charges.
I call Lieutenant Stephen Goodman to the stand.
You do so solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Lieutenant, were you in Vietnam last February?
I was.
Doing what?
I was part of G2 intelligence based in Saigon.
And did you participate in Operation Valkyrie?
I did.
Do you recognize this?
I do.
What is it?
This is an intelligence report I made out concerning enemy strength prior to the operation.
And what exactly does it say in that regard?
Essentially, it says that our estimates at the time were that there were significant numbers of NVA troops not only entrenched on Hill 87, but in the surrounding areas.
How many?
At least 3 companies.
And how did you know this?
Well, the usual procedures were followed. Aerial surveillance, recon patrols, monitoring enemy strength coming from the north through the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
And who did this report go to?
Operative headquarters.
And that was?
Well, the 173rd Airborne Battalion.
And who was in command of the 173rd Airborne Battalion?
Colonel McKeye.
Sir, again, I must strongly object. Council is delving into everything that does not relate to the actions of the defendants that are on trial here and...
Overruled.
Lieutenant, did you personally deliver a copy of this report to Colonel McKeye?
Why, no, sir. I submitted it through proper channels.
Then you don't know if Colonel McKay ever saw it.
I know he read it, sir. We discussed it.
When?
The day before the attack.
And what exactly did you discuss?
Well, the colonel was, to put it bluntly, furious.
And what about?
Well, we were alone in the makeshift office of his at base camp, a few kilometers from the hill. I walked in and he gave me this cold look and started berating me, accusing me of making these numbers up. Then he really got angry and started saying that all of us in G2 were a bunch of, as he put it, goddamn faggots. That we were all nervous Nellies, and we always came up with the same bullshit before every battle, saying that the enemy outnumbered us 10-1, and if he listened to us, the army would just pack up and run every time the VC showed their faces.
And what did you say to that?
I tried to go over our intelligence gathering procedures, but he cut me off and pretty much told me to get my ass back to work and come up with a proper report.
And what did you interpret that to mean?
That I was to rewrite my report, lowering the expected enemy troop strength.
Did he say those exact words?
No, sir. He didn't have to.
Did you rewrite that report?
No, sir. When I got back to our group, I was told that I would instead be responsible for calculating the number of enemy dead.
So you were effectively taken off the intelligence report for Operation Valkyrie.
Yes, sir.
Did you see Colonel McKay again?
Yes, sir.
When?
When the battle was over,
What happened then?
I made my report as to the number of enemy killed.
Which was?
I informed the colonel that we had counted 537 dead enemy soldiers on Hill 87.
And what did the colonel say to you?
Threw the report back at me and said it was bullshit.
And what did you say to that?
I said that those numbers were correct, that we had double and even triple checked them.
And what did Colonel McKay say to that?
He told me that I was useless as an intelligence officer and to go back to work and come up with a proper report.
And what did you do then?
Nothing, sir. I was later informed that I would be given a new project, estimating enemy strength north of the DMZ.
Did you have anything more to do with Operation Valkyrie?
No, sir.
Yours.
Lieutenant, when Colonel McKay told you, as you just said, to go back to work and come up with a proper report, why did you interpret that to mean that he wanted you to change the number of enemy killed?
I knew what he was telling me.
At no time did Colonel McKay actually say those words.
No, sir.
At no time did the Colonel tell you to change the number of enemy dead.
No, sir.
So it is entirely possible that you mistakenly interpreted Colonel McKay's intentions when he first asked you to come up with another intelligence report, and you are now mistaken in concluding that he wanted you to come up with another number of enemy casualties. Isn't that right?
Sir, no one ever mistakes the colonel's intentions.
No further questions.
I call Captain John L. Carr to the stand.
You do so solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Captain, you were a pilot in the U.S. Air Force.
Yes, sir.
What was your assignment in Vietnam?
I was stationed at Da Nang Air Base,
To do what?
primarily to provide air support to ground troops under fire.
What plane did you fly?
F-4 Phantom,
Equipped with what weapons?
500-pound bombs.
On February 17th, were you ordered in to provide air support during the attack on Hill 87?
Yes, sir.
Objection. The court has already ruled that defense counsel must restrict himself to the actions of the defendants as charged and not go fishing into other areas.
Sir, allow me to use the judge advocate's own words. When yesterday he told this court that if the events of Hill 87 were in some way unusual or irregular to any of the actions transpiring in this war, my line of questioning may indeed be valid. I have called this witness to establish just that.
Proceed.
How many planes?
Please, sir. I was in command.
Where were you when you received these orders?
On patrol, sir, just south of Dak To at 2,500 feet.
And you received orders from base to proceed to Hill 87.
Yes.
Captain, have you ever encountered a situation like Hill 87 before, where you had to take out superior enemy forces firing down on American troops?
Yes, sir, I have.
What's the procedure?
Well, we're usually guided in by a fact.
Was there a FAC at Hill 87?
No, sir. We received radio orders from an air controller at base to proceed to the coordinates given to us. We were then ordered to strafe the hill from south to north.
Is this usual?
No, it is not.
Why not?
Well, sir, this was the first time we had to perform an operation like this without a fact guiding us in. When there's a superior enemy position bringing fire down on our troops, he's already swooped down low enough to know the situation. He knows where Charlie is and where our guys are. We then go in and strafe horizontally, usually going in a little high on the hill like that. Less chance of hitting our guys. Then the fact can bring us around for another pass if need be.
Were you hindered by any ground-to-air fire?
Oh, no, sir. No service to air missiles there. And Charlie was well dug in that hill. He wasn't firing at us.
But you didn't go in horizontally, east-west or west-east. You went straight up that hill from south to north, dropping your load. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Were those your exact orders?
Yes, sir. The orders were explicit. We were to come in low from the south and drop everything we had straight up that hill, bottom to top.
Captain, how effective is your fire under these circumstances?
When the enemy is wide open, we can wipe them out completely, usually with one pass. When they're dug in deep in that hill like that, it's harder.
Why?
Well, when they've got good cover like they did, dug into that hill, covered by logs, the only thing that'll take them out is direct hit. Anything else just lasts. That's what's supposed to be on the ground.
Captain, when you went in there, were you aware that it was our soldiers exposed on the ground and the enemy dug deep into that hill?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that many U.S. soldiers were killed as a result of the attack?
I am.
And you are absolutely certain that your orders were exactly as you just described them in the court?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
No questions.
I call Colonel Clifton P. McKeye to the stand.
Colonel, I remind you that you are still under oath.
Thank you, sir.
Colonel, have you ever seen this before?
No,
You're sure?
I am.
Colonel Lieutenant Stephen Goodman has just testified that this is the first intelligence report that he submitted prior to Operation Valkyrie.
I never saw this.
Just prior to the attack on Hill 87, did you meet with Lieutenant Goodman regarding his intelligence estimates of enemy troop strength?
I did.
And what were his projections?
Well, I don't recall exact numbers, only that NPA strength had diminished and that G2 concluded that our operation would meet with a minimum of opposition.
Did you at any time criticize the lieutenant's estimate of the enemy troop strength?
No, I did not.
Colonel, I must tell you that Lieutenant Goodman sat in that chair moments ago and testified under oath that you did indeed harangue him over his estimates and demand that he rewrite his report.
Well, I can't help that.
Did you demand that he rewrite his report?
I did not.
Then you accepted this report.
I just told you I've never seen this report.
Then just exactly what intelligence were you working with prior to the attack?
I was provided with intelligence reports showing that there was minimal enemy troop strength on Hill 87 and none in the surrounding areas. That's all I know.
Where are they?
Well, I don't know. I assume they must be in our files somewhere.
Colonel, when the attack began on February 17th, 1300 hours, where were you?
Where I was supposed to be, at base camp.
You first sent two companies into action, Alpha and Delta. What reports were you getting from them regarding the progress of this action?
I don't know how to answer that. If you've never been in combat, you wouldn't know that you don't receive a minute-by-minute rundown. There's an ebb and flow of information coming back from the line.
At 1500 hours, 2 hours after the attack had started, what ebb and flow did you receive?
What do you mean?
Colonel, at the exact time, didn't your headquarters receive reports that the attack was going badly? That both Alpha and Delta companies were pinned down by superior enemy fire?
Well, there are always...
Yes or no?
We did receive reports that the attack had stalled, yes.
Were you aware that both companies were coming under fire by large numbers of enemy troops dug into Hill 87?
Yes.
Were you aware that a large number of enemy troops were coming at these companies not only from above, but from below?
Well,
Again, sir, yes or no?
now, there were some reports like that, but that does
I'm
not
asking
mean
if
that...
you received such reports.
We received many such reports with various degrees of conflicting information. This is not at all unusual in an operation of this
I
kind.
see. Colonel, did you order an Air Force planes to support combat units on Hill 87 at 1730 hours on February 17th?
Well...
Did you?
Yes.
Colonel, what is the usual way that air support is brought in to support combat units under enemy fire?
There is no usual way. The use of air support in an operation like this is complicated.
Uncomplicated for me. Was a forward air controller, a FAC, on the scene directing air support?
No.
And how those planes get there?
Ground forces radioed back requesting air support.
Did you personally give the order for Air Force planes to go in and attack enemy forces on Hill 87?
Yes.
Colonel, what is the proper procedure for such planes when they are to attempt to take enemy positions when U.S. troops are under fire?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
I have here the book, given to FAC pilots who direct such attacks. It states that our troops must be a minimum of 200 meters from the enemy in order for our planes to attack. Are you aware of this?
Yes.
It also states that when the situation is comprised of enemy forces entrenched on a hill, firing down upon U.S. troops, that our planes are to strafe each hill from side to side in order to limit the chance of fire hitting U.S. forces. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Colonel, how did those planes attack Hill 87? From east to west or from north, south to north?
Now again,
Did they come in from the side of the hill or from straight below? Which one?
from straight
Did
below.
our planes kill our men?
Now you're being overdramatic here. This is
Did our
combat.
planes kill our men?
Yes.
Colonel, someone gave those planes the order to go in from the south, straight up that hill. Who was it? Colonel, we have the record of this entire operation.
I gave that order. But there was good reason.
Which was?
You cannot possibly understand. You're an officer, you know.
Colonel McKeye, do I have to bring Lieutenant Goodman of G2 back in to take the stand again and testify that you ignored intelligence reports of superior enemy strength prior to Operation Valkyrie? Do I have to confront you with Air Force Captain Carr to testify that your command gave him orders to strafe that hill regardless of how many U.S. soldiers would die?
You're twisting it all
Why
around.
did you give those orders?
It's not that simple.
Why did you risk all those lives?
I told you. We had orders to destroy the Ho Chi
The
Minh
Ho Chi
Trail.
Minh Trail still exists. It wasn't destroyed. I ask you again, why did you risk so many lives to take that hill?
It was necessary.
Why?
You can't understand.
I understand that hundreds of American soldiers died in one day. I understand that you sent them in there knowing they'd get slaughtered. I understand that you phonied intelligence reports. I'm asking you to tell this court why. Was it because you had nothing but failure before? Was it needed for your career? Were you budgeting for promotion?
That is not true. I'm an officer in the United States Army. I had a job to do, and I did it.
Is it your job to overstate enemy casualties? As an officer in the United States Army, Colonel, aren't you duty-bound to place the same importance in limiting American casualties as you do in creating enemy casualties?
You do not understand. I mean, we're not winning this war. The Army, it's...
Colonel, I have here your official casualty report for Operation Valkyrie. It says that 1,500 enemy soldiers were killed. I can bring Lieutenant Goodman back in here and put him on the stand to testify. Do I need to do that, Colonel? Tell me, how many enemy soldiers were killed on that hill?
500 or so, something like that.
Colonel, can you tell me the present situation on Hill 87 right now?
I don't...
You testified earlier that in the end we took that hill. Can you tell me right now, as I speak, are U.S. forces in possession of Hill 87?
No.
How long did we hold it?
1 month.
And why did we abandon it?
The Ho Chi Minh Trail moved to another area, deeper into Cambodia.
Tell me, Colonel, is Hill 87 still decisive terrain?
No.
How many of our men did we lose in Operation Valkyrie? The full tally.
417.
Sir, I was going to ask the witness if Operation Valkyrie was a success, but it's no longer relevant. No further questions.
court will recess until tomorrow morning at 1000 hours.
Blackout. End of scene. Scene 2. Lights go up and we see Cross, Ariaga, Kendall, and Cole surrounding a table in the jail. There are soft drink bottles on the table, and as the lights go up, the 4 defendants are in a much better mood.
Man, did you see the look on Colonel Fubar when Foster cut him a new one? He looked like someone was tightening his shorts with a wrench.
Yeah. Now the Army knows it was one of theirs that screwed this whole thing up. But they can't blame us for saying we ain't going back.
Don't kid yourself, man. The Army doesn't care. If they fuck up, we pay the price. As far as the Army's concerned, we're expendable.
We are the king's subjects. If his cause be wrong, our obedience to the king wipes the crime out of us.
Hey, Mr. Foster.
There he is, the man. What's that you were saying?
It's from Shakespeare. But if the cause be not good, the king himself hath a heavy reckoning to make. When all those legs and arms and heads chopped off in a battle shall join together the latter day and cry all, we died at such a place. Some swearing, some crying for a surgeon. Few die well that die in a battle. We've been arguing this point for 400 years now. You all seem a lot more cheerful than when I first talked to you.
Damn right. You cut that big shot officer into pieces.
You sure you'll get off?
Aren't you?
I'm a trial lawyer. I've won cases I should have lost and lost cases I should have won. If it makes you feel any better, I've also won cases I was supposed to win.
What do you think will happen?
The standard line for every client who asks that question is that you can never tell the jury. And the Army is your jury. I can tell you this, you're doing a lot better than you were this morning. I peeled some layers off McKeye's skin for you.
What about Dimps?
Yes, Corporal Robert Dimps, your comrade in arms who sold your collective butts to the other side. Tell me about Dimps.
Not much to tell. He kind of kept to himself.
Yeah, he went into all that black power stuff, talking about bloods and how we all slaves to the white man. He was always a badass.
First day I see him, he tell me to get lost. Says I'm just a field hand nigga who kisses Whitey's ass. I figured, shit, I don't want no part of this, brother.
Bad soldier?
It's funny. Out on patrol, he's okay. When the shit happens, he knows what to do. Out there, he's all right behind you. Back here, forget it.
So this guy didn't have one single friend? One buddy?
One guy, in Alpha Company. A blood just like him. Red bandana around his head, skull and crossbones tattooed on his arms. They get together and it's all revolution and stuff and going home and bringing down the white man. When they get going with reefer and all that, man, you just leave them two alone.
You got that right.
What's this guy's name?
Damn, I can't remember.
Prentice or something.
Price. John Price.
Yeah. Well, they best put that motherfucker Dimps away, man, because if he's out there in the street, he's second Louis all the way.
Yeah.
What's second Louis?
Sooner or later, every platoon gets some second lieutenant straight out of West Point who don't know shit. He got all that book learning from the military, but he don't know nothing about going out on patrol. That kind of guy get everyone killed. Tells you we're heading straight down the road. That's got an ambush written all over it. And when we try to set him straight, he just say, "Orders, orders." So we make the circle sign.
That means he's a target with circles on his back. Means either he gets wise or he gets a grenade under his ass, and it's one of ours.
Great. You guys told me anymore, I'll be defending you guys for the rest of my life.
That's what we're gonna do to Dimps, man. He show a fingernail, he dead.
Right, let the court deal with him. You four just sit tight and wait. You're doing better, but you aren't in the clear yet. Don't forget what I said. You're dealing with the Army. The Army is not crazy about permitting soldiers to disobey orders.
What are you going to do tomorrow?
I'm going to make the circle sign.
Act 3, Scene 1. The courtroom. As the lights go up, Wingate, Orderly, Skenck, Foster, Schell, and the defendants are all seated.
Mr. Foster, you may proceed.
Thank you, sir. I call Corporal Robert Dimps to the stand.
Corporal, I remind you that you are still under oath.
Sir, I ask that the witness be sworn in again.
Mr. Foster, is that necessary?
Sir, the defense feels that it is.
Captain Skenck, have you any objections?
Sir, we agree with the court that this is hardly necessary, but if it makes the defense counsel feel better, we offer no objection.
You do so solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yeah.
Corporal, you have just taken the oath a second time to tell the truth before this court. You have heard the other 4 defendants in this case testify that at no time prior to Lieutenant Kulik's giving you 5-men orders to return to action on Hill 87 on the morning of February 18th, did you men talk amongst yourselves about refusing any orders to go back up that hill?
Is that a question, or are you just talking to me?
Sir, I agree with the witness.
Colonel, if I could just finish my question.
You may.
Corporal, you've heard these men testify under the same oath you just took again. I ask you now, do you still maintain that you 5 men discussed disobeying orders to return to Hill 87?
Mm-hmm.
Corporal, you are to give clear, direct answers to the questions.
Yes, sir, I do, sir.
Tell me, how'd you become a corporal?
What?
Well, you're the only one among defendants to rise above specialist. Tell me about when you first got to Vietnam. Let's start with that.
Okay. I got off the plane.
You were drafted in April of 1966. After basic, you were sent to Vietnam, where you were assigned to an infantry unit in the 173rd for search and destroy patrols below Pleiku. After 3 months, platoon leader, Lieutenant Cross, recommended that you be promoted to corporal. He said you showed a quick grasp of detail and were adept at leadership, particularly when your squad was under fire. Now, how'd you feel about that?
Talk about staying alive, man. You learn fast or you die
And
fast.
of all the 5 defendants, you seem to have had the most combat experience. You distinguished yourself in January of this year when a fire support base was under attack. You and your men held the south perimeter while in a free fire zone. Enemy soldiers everywhere, but you and your men held your position, which led to an artillery unit being able to drive the enemy back.
Just where in the hell was I supposed to go?
Corporal, how long were you in Charlie Company before the attack on Hill 87?
3 weeks.
Before that, you were in Alpha Company, correct?
Yeah.
Why were you sent to Charlie Company?
I lost a lot of men needing replacements.
Prior to your transfer, you'd seen quite a lot of action with Alpha Company on the Cambodian border, correct?
That's right.
In fact, Alpha spent 25 straight days engaged in firefights with NVA units on the border. Is that correct?
Yeah.
25 straight days in combat. It's pretty intense, not to mention unusual. Wasn't your platoon supposed to get relief? You'd certainly earned some R&R.
You got the wrong guy up here. Talk to them officers.
You had a Purple Heart, Corporal. Where were you wounded?
Shrapnel they dug out the back of my leg, stuff like that.
Any time on Alpha during any engagement with the enemy, did you ever refuse to disobey an order?
No.
Corporal, let's go to the first day of Operation Valkyrie. At 13:30 hours, Charlie Company was ordered to go up Hill 87. When you men of Baker's squad got to the firing line, what happened?
Man, you already heard about that.
Tell me from your perspective.
No surprise, you're catching all kinds of hell. This thing's all a mess from the start. We hit the dirt, everybody praying he don't get hit.
Corporal, I have a report here made up by Lieutenant Kulik after the first day's fighting. In it, it says that at 1500 hours, a captain from Alpha Company ordered you and another man to the western end of the hill to try to to work your way up to where the enemy was dug in. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did you recognize the captain?
Yeah, Captain Gilman.
You served under him before when you were with Alpha. The other man, was he Alpha too?
Yeah.
Did you know him?
Yeah, I knew him.
Corporal, was that other man Private John Price?
Yeah.
You knew Private Price from your time with Alpha, correct?
So,
You knew him in Alpha, correct?
I knew him, yeah.
Tell me what happened when Captain Goleman took you men around the perimeter.
What happened? We got the shit kicked out of us. That's what happened. The captain, he has us moving up the side of the hill. At first it looked good, like we coming up on him from where we can start tossing some grenades on Charlie. We can see the tops of where they were. There was logs all set on top and camouflage and stuff. It was all set, and then suddenly from above us, all kinds of them slopes come at us yelling and shooting, and we hit the ground and started firing back.
You were all spread out?
Oh man, no time. Charlie on us coming from the top. We all hit the ground together. The captain tried to go around our left and toss some grenades when a mortar shot just took him out. Blew him in half.
So you and John Price were lying there, firing.
We got off some grenades. It pushed them back some. We started moving down the hill and
What happened? Was someone hit? Was it John Price? Where was he hit?
He got hit right in the stomach. We both run it at the same time, but he gets one and all of a sudden he's screaming. He yelling out, "My God, I'm hit!" I grab him, drag him down behind some bush. I start firing back and then I look at him and he's grabbing at his stomach. He's grabbing it like it on fire and he's trying to put it out. I'm holding him, his guts were coming out. It was in my hands, his mouth. He was trying to talk, but there was just blood and bubbles coming out of his mouth. And I'm screaming at him, "Don't die, man." And I'm holding his guts in my hands. Couldn't call no medic, no one there.
And then the enemy was coming down hard, lots of them. You had to leave him there.
He was dead.
You made your way back to Charlie Company. You were there all night. The enemy attacked all night. And it wasn't until dawn that bigger company got you out. Corporal, was John Price your blood?
Damn right.
Corporal, during your time in jail prior to the beginning of this trial, did you have any visitors besides me?
No.
You're certain of that?
Yeah.
I recall Colonel McKeye to the stand.
Colonel, you are still under oath.
Yes, sir.
Swear I offer in evidence the official ledger kept by the guards at the jail where the defendants have been held for the last month. Colonel, will you look at the name written on line 3 on December 9th showing a visitor to Corporal Dimps' cell at 1100 hours? Please read the name.
Colonel Clifton P. McKeye.
Colonel McKeye, did you at any time visit Corporal Dimps in his cell?
Now, I want to say...
Did you? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why?
I must proceed this by saying...
Colonel, you went to go see one of the defendants in his cell. No one here thinks it was to wish him good luck. Why were you there?
I received word from the jail that this soldier wanted to see me.
He asked to see you, is that correct?
Yes, that's what I
And
said.
what did Corporal Dimps say to you when he came to his cell?
He expressed to me the fact that he felt it wrong that he should be on trial when it was the other foremen who were responsible for all of them refusing to return to the fighting. He said that he was going to testify to this in court, and he asked me if I would support him in this based on my recollections of the incident as I witnessed it.
And what did you tell him?
Well, I told him I could do no such thing, that I knew nothing of what occurred at the time of the incident in question, only of what I saw when the 5 men were brought to me by Lieutenant Kulik. I told him that any further discussions along these lines were improper and that
He lied! You a lying motherfucker, man.
Corporal!
Sir, Corporal Dimps is still under oath. Corporal, tell us, what did the Colonel say to you when he came to your cell?
Sir, this is...
What did he say? Corporal, this is the man who commanded the attack on Hill 87. This is the man who put you there. This is the man who put John Price where his guts were shot out. And now he's charged you with cowardice.
I ain't no coward, man. Where the hell were you? Charlie killing us. My man lying there dying. Where were you?
Corporal, what did Colonel McKeye tell you?
He tell me he give me Article 15. He say all I got to do was say what he tell me and I gotta get a 15. He take care of everything, I be free.
Colonel, Article 15 of the United States Military Code. Punishment on your record that carries with it no convictions and no prison term. Is that what Colonel McKeye offered you? Corporal, understand something. Colonel McKeye does not have the authority to grant you that. Only this court can do that. I ask you again, did Colonel McKeye offer you a deal?
Yeah. All I have to do is say the other guy's planted and he gonna take care of me. He give me a 15, tells me I'll walk right out of here. You gotta understand, couldn't take it no more. I had enough, you understand? I didn't care. I just wanted out. I had it. I can't take any more of this. I just want out. Get me out.
No further questions.
Blackout. End of scene. Scene 2. The courtroom 4 days later. It is empty except for Ariaga, Pross, Kendall, and Cole. They're waiting for their lawyer and they're happy.
We get our logging papers.
Yep, Army can't touch us now, and that son of a bitch is the one who goes down. He tried to sell us out, and he's the one who gets it in the end.
Just what he deserves.
Yeah, Dimps the one who tried to get himself free by stabbing us in the back, and now he gets 5 years for lying, and we get off. See, Army got justice after all.
All right, gentlemen. Before you is a bad conduct discharge instead of dishonorable, which would follow you for the rest of your lives. I got you this. You don't get off scot-free, but you escape jail, and if someone ever asks what your bad conduct was, you can always say you forgot to salute an officer or something. Meanwhile, you have no criminal or dishonorable past to haunt you as you return to civilian life.
Yeah, baby. We free of Uncle Sam.
Not quite yet. Sign these.
What's this?
We're making a trade. You sign this piece of paper saying that you will not divulge any information regarding these court-martial proceedings ever to anyone. If you do, you will be prosecuted by the federal government to the fullest extent. In exchange, you get off with bad conduct. Understand, this means you never, and I mean never, breathe a word about what happened here. Nothing.
Okay by me.
Wait. Why? Why do they want us to sign this?
Well, it's simple. I signed Goleman took on your case. Otherwise, I'd never been allowed to defend you. The Army doesn't want it ever to get out that you guys disobeyed orders and got away with it. The transcripts of these proceedings have been sealed. That means they never see the light of day. All the military personnel involved in this case have received their orders of silence. The slightest leak on their part and they find themselves in jail. Now they're going to be civilians. You put yourselves in the same position where you don't get your discharges. What's it going to be?
Why they worried about us? We know, buddy.
I wouldn't say that. You were on trial as an example. If you get 30 years in prison, any future soldiers who decide they don't want to fight anymore will know exactly what will happen to them. Instead, I got you off. That has to get buried.
Whatever, man, as long as I get out of this goddamned Army.
What's wrong, Mr. Foster? You just did the impossible. You should be jumping for joy.
Should I?
Mr. Foster, look, we're grateful. We really are. I mean, you saved our skins.
Yeah. I saved your skins.
You proved...
I proved nothing. That trial was going to end in a technicality. The moment McKeye entered Dimps' cell, he interfered with the defendant in the case, and that meant mistrial. All the Army had to do was retry the 5 of you, and we're right back to the beginning. Meaning you spend the next few decades in prison.
But you showed them that McKeye knew all along that hill covered with Charlie. He sent in all them planes, didn't give a damn about how any of us got killed. That's how you won.
Like hell I did. 5 soldiers were on trial for refusing orders to fight. The officer who put them there attempted to coerce perjury from a defendant. That left us with a situation. The Army can't put all of you in jail and let McKeye just walk. Someone had to go down. Someone had to get sacrificed. So I put Dimps on that stand. And I sacrificed him.
Yeah, but he did.
How? He was drafted and went to Nam against his will, just like you. He saw men blown to bits right in front of him, just like you. You all had the choice of going back or laying down your rifles. You all did the same thing. How is he different from you?
He stabbed us in the back.
McKeye stabbed you in the back. The Army stabbed you in the back. Dimps is just another dog-faced grunt trying to survive in a world where you no longer know who the enemy is.
So why you get us off?
Like I said, we're making a trade. I traded Dimps for you. The Army gets what it wants. McKeye walks away and no one will ever know that he got hundreds of men killed for nothing. You get what you want. Discharges. So go out on the town tonight. Drink it up. Find yourselves a couple of girls. Have a good time. Dimps will pick up the check. Go on. Take them. They're your ticket out. And for God's sake, don't lose them. They cost a lot.
Kendall, Cole, Ariaka, and Cross look at each other, pick up their papers, and slowly file out. Lieutenant Schell enters.
Congratulations are in order, Kelly.
I'm not in the mood, Tom.
I mean me.
You look like you've had a few.
You bet. What did I tell you the news?
Go on.
I am headed to Washington. McKeye has been attached to Army Special Operations Command at the Pentagon, and he recommended me as an aide for his old buddy, General Ketchel. Hear that? I'm working for Ketchel and a cinch to make and I'm a cinch to make captain.
You can't be serious.
I sure as hell am. Get this. We're to prepare a study of special operation requirements and techniques and present a report to the Joint Chiefs on special operations to be used in Vietnam.
You can't see it, can you?
See what?
This isn't a promotion. It's a payoff. You're being paid for not defending these guys and getting them off.
Oh, come on. You're kidding.
You can't see it at all, can you? McKeye's a complete screw-up, so they have to hide him someplace, and the best place is a desk in Washington where he can make up some half-assed report that no one's ever going to read. But that's not what surprises me. You surprise me.
What? But what's wrong with it getting a damn good assignment?
Because you're a lawyer, Tom, not a general stooge. You had a job to do defending men on trial, and the moment you saw how it would affect your career, you ran for the exits.
Whoa. Hold on, man.
You know, you made a big mistake. Hell, if you'd stayed on as defense counsel, you could have defended them right into 30 years hard labor. They'd be a goddamn major for that.
Don't give me this noble lawyer shit, Kelly. You're a civilian. You can go on a crusade if you want. Me, I gotta live in this organization.
You empty son of a bitch. To you, this is all just a game of how to advance your career, wasn't it? You got no skin at all, do you?
Neither do you.
And my skin and my blood are lying under 6 feet of earth in Arlington. Come night, his mother sits alone looking at old pictures. After Hill 87, there are 417 more just like her. Meanwhile, you and your army will draft more naive, patriotic young men and send them straight into the black hole of Vietnam. And while you're carrying your general home after he gets drunk in a bridge game in Georgetown, a bugler will play taps over thousands of bodies that can no longer hear him. Why is it that what is it they say when the battle is over and the field is covered with dead? Tag him and bag him? Enjoy Washington, Tom.
As Schell starts to exit, a guard escorts Dimps through the door. Dimps is in green fatigues and he's handcuffed. Schell looks at him uncomfortably, turns away, and then exits.
What's the matter, Mr. Lawyer? Why are you looking so sad?
I'm sorry, Dimps. Wish it hadn't turned out this way.
Don't be sorry. So I got some new jewelry. No big deal. Don't feel sorry for me, no sir. Don't gotta go back home and hustle in the streets no more. Mr. Government giving me a holiday, 5 years. Gonna give me my own room, my own bed, my own toilet. And I gotta get 3 squares a day. How about that? Ain't sleeping in the bush with bugs crawling over me and some damn goop looking to come up on me and slit my throat. Ain't no landmines in prison to blow my legs off. And get this, nobody gonna be shooting at me. Imagine that. Nah, man, don't be feeling bad for this boy.
The
No,
guard
sir.
starts to lead Dimps away.
No, sir, we living in the tall cotton.
Blackout. End of play.
I want to thank you for for our great cast tonight. We're on.
Woo! Woo!
And for our esteemed audience,
Thank you.
who we agree, if any of you need to leave, this is the time to do it. But we would love to have you all stay and give Don some feedback, because I think some of you were involved in this before, and this would be a second opportunity for you to reflect back to Don. Because that's why we have these kind of, that's why we have these kind of operations here.